We continue the conversation about the 5 qualities of people that would be expected to give leadership, especially even in the political scene. And I hope that when you get these things, you are at a place where you can influence others to communicate, so that when we're doing civic education, we can be able to help people know what qualities to look for. And the quality we are looking at are those who should be entrusted with leadership, particularly even in the political scene, are people who are given to justice. Justice is very, very key. A good ruler builds up the land by justice. We already examined that in the book of Proverbs 29, verse 4. In particular, this means 2 things. First, our political leaders should not give favorable treatments to the rich and powerful. Wow. Our political leaders should not have double standards to where they give favorable treatments to the rich and to the powerful. If a king faithfully judges the poor, his throne will be established forever. I like that. And this is Proverbs 29 and verse number 14. This doesn't mean the governing authorities should rig the system in favor of the poor. The king must never sin in his judgment, according to Proverbs 16 and verse number 10. Now, he must always employ a just balance and a fair scale. A just balance and a fair scale. And all of us will face times in which we have to make a decision, and we are faced to where sometimes we have to know we're gonna make this decision or make another decision. But one of the things I encourage people is to have a principle that guides them, that informs their judgment on fairness. No double standards, no partiality in judgment. And apparently it's a God in many ways. When we read the scripture, we see that God has a very, very soft heart for the people who are destitute or even who are poor. And that's why we are finding scriptures that are specifically mentioning about, like this scripture that says that God, a king who faithfully judges the poor, of course, righteously or fairly, his throne will be established forever. Now, a king should be aware that those at the bottom, within the economic space, are often treated unfairly. Now, the king should open his mouth for the right of those who are destitute. And according to Proverbs 31, verse 8 and 9, he should judge righteously and defend the rights of the poor and the needy. I guess it's very easy, and of course, we all know, if all the people are well-to-do, even now when we think about the administration of justice or the rulership, there are people who can be in a position within the social structure where really they're not worried about what's happening, because they have the capacity to cope with a situation, whatever it is, in terms of the inflation rates and all. But the poor are the ones who actually suffer when there's bad governance or there's bad rulership. And that's why it's so important for people who are in leadership to really have a system where they can be able to get the feedback of the people who are within the society, that are really, really needy. It's good to have a feedback. But one of the human challenges is that when somebody is having everything working well and they have everything they need at their disposal, the natural thing that sometimes happens is that we forget, we easily forget the other people who are out there. And we behave in such a way that it's like, we are insensitive. Just recently I had an opportunity of going into a section of Nairobi that I've not been before. And I know, and I think it's very sobering for us who live in certain quarters within certain areas of Nairobi. We don't know that in the same city, there are people who live in very destitute situations, particularly the people within the informal settlements. You go and see the way they live. And for me, I went deep in some of the Eastland slums that are called Korogosho, Babadogos, areas that have not been. And I've been living in the city for many years. And I said, Lord, is this still Nairobi? What? These people live in a very, very desperate situation. And because we are going to visit a school within Lakisama, which is kind of surrounded by the slums, the proprietor of that school said there's no school nearby. So in a very small space, they have a private school that had 436 pupils. And this is a school that is managed privately. Whereas we know the Constitution does demand that every child has a right to education. But it's regrettable that in the administration of the city government or even within the national government, we know there's always a challenge, and we always have admitted that we do not have enough schools to cater for the number of children that are within the urban situations. And you know too well that there are people who just migrate to the urban areas with the hope that is where they can be able to get gainful employment. And that is why in most of, if you look across the city, the neighborhoods or even the upper scale neighborhood of people who live within the middle class or those above that, there will always be some slum nearby. And it's very, very unfortunate. And we just pray and plead that a city like Nairobi, and through the national government, through the local resources of the city, we can have more public schools to cushion the great need. We know that some of the tragedies we have suffered as a people and as a nation when some very serious tragedies have taken place, whether it was a fire or some building collapsing and kids being hurt, just because of the structures not being where they need to be. So my appeal, as we talk about justice, and that's what we are addressing in this conversation, is that political leaders must rule justly, and they must be willing to punish evildoers. Justice is about fairly applying the law and consistently enforcing the law. A good king shines favor upon the righteous, but a messenger of death he is a messenger of death to the wicked. A wise king wins to the wicked and drives the wheel over them. Proverbs 20 and 26. The wicked fear the king. Yeah, if you read the section of Proverbs 24 again, from verse 21 to 22, because he is a terror to those who do wrong things. His favor is like the dew, but his wrath is like the roaring of a lion. The just leader in Proverbs is one who upholds the rule of a law, ensuring that the weak are not mistreated and insisting that evildoers be punished. We are talking about wisdom, the need of wisdom to people within rulership. The Lord bless you as you continue to follow us. This comes to you. These programs come to you every Friday at 8 p.m. Please subscribe. God bless.